It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Hey, Steph.
Hey, Gary. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, how was your trip to Orlando? Was it nice and warm and cuddly?
It was so hot. It was like 70, 80 degrees the whole time I was down there, which was really just like a big difference from here. But it was good. It was the fifth trip I've taken down to Florida this year. And it was so much fun. I was there for a wedding, so it was.
I wonder if you can claim as a residency and not have to pay income taxes.
I've been saying that I need a Florida timeshare at this point because I'm just there so often. But
speaking of weddings, our great friend and the industry's friend, Sarah Abrams, is getting married this weekend, and you and I are both going to that wedding. In fact, you're doing her makeup, aren't you?
I am doing her makeup for her wedding. So if you see it and it looks good, it's because I did it.
That's her boyfriend, Jacob, there. That's her boyfriend, Jacob. They've been dating at least 5 or 6 years.
Yes, her fiance, Jacob.
And they, they're getting married. And, of course, everyone knows Sarah Abrams. She's been in our industry for over 16 years, been at rAVe for 16 years. And we're excited to both be going to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I've been looking forward to it for a long time, so I'm looking forward to it. It's just gonna be a lovely gathering of all of us. So I'm really excited about it.
Same here. Well, some big news this week in the industry. The first big story is AVI SPL buying SKC. SKC was the last sort of the medium-sized integrators that have not been purchased. And, you may recall that Diversified purchased HB, and here goes SKC over to AVI SPL. And SKC's kind of made I remember SKC way back when they were the first company selling Plantronics headsets years ago. And they've kind of made their niche, I guess, in really high, kind of narrowly focused in UCC and other AV, but mostly UCC environments.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good acquisition for them. I think the big three are going to go through a bunch of acquisitions here over the next year or two, as long as they don't run out of money.
Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of the next company, I keep saying it, Spinatar is going to get purchased at some point. At some point in time, Jeff Irvin's going to sell that company. So we'll be reporting on them getting purchased.
Do you think that all of the acquisitions are a good thing or a bad thing for the industry?
I mean, it's a natural thing. Every industry kind of goes through this consolidation through acquisitions. We're seeing it on the manufacturer side and on the integrator side. It's going to happen. You just hope that they do it in a way that's organic so that you're not forcing, you're not doing a roll up just to sell. And I don't think any of the companies in our industry are doing that right now. I mean, there have been historically cases where brands have come in and done roll-ups just to sell, what Harman is a good example of that.
Yeah.
And they sold to Samsung, and you could see the fallout of that. That was a horrible acquisition ultimately of Samsung, because a lot of the good brands that Harman had have kind of fallen apart. AMX being one of them. I think a lot of people would agree with that. In fact, AMX disappearing from the market is really going to boost this new company out there called Savi Controls, SAVI Controls. I was really impressed with what they showed at Infocom. And I think they're going to, because of these acquisitions, you see other opportunities appear. So I think SKC, hopefully it's a good thing for them, but AVI SPL is a big company. They're the biggest in the world.
Yeah. I feel you.
So,
all right, next piece of news. Extron added some seamless integration of digital signage content to its ShareLink Pro. So, Gary, tell me a little bit about this.
Basically, if you have a ShareLink, which a heck of a lot of classrooms and meeting rooms have, which is built into a lot of systems out there and a lot of products they have, but ShareLink is a separate device of ShareLink Pro. When it's in the standby mode, for lack of a better term, or whenever it's not being used to share content, so in between the meeting room being used as a meeting room, people, remember back when you were in college, you walk into a classroom, the professor wasn't there yet, and you're sort of awkwardly sitting there talking to people that you barely know. That device will then act as a digital signage media player. So all of a sudden it can flip over and host digital signage content. The other thing that's kind of cool about this is if you think about it, if you're a smart network person, you could use this to also send emergency mass notifications or any kind of a mass notification out as well. So during a class, if you wanted to send a message to all the classes at the same time, you could do it using the ShareLink Pro or any system that's using ShareLink. So, a lot of the UCC platforms have done this, right? You have inside of Zoom and you have inside of Teams the ability to do digital signage. So this is like a hardware solution to that. So instead of having to be inside of Zoom, because Zoom rooms aren't always Zoom rooms, and Team rooms aren't always Teams rooms. Sometimes you're just using it to connect a laptop, and you've disconnected the application in that case. So in that case, you're basically just a regular AV system, but ShareLink can be on all the time. So it can, you could have it talk to the projector, flip over to the ShareLink input, and act as a digital signage content player all the time. So it's a good move for Extron. I think that other sharing devices that do sharing of content will follow suit.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. So another piece of news that came out, what was it, yesterday? Or no, maybe it was Monday. Yeah, Max Hub introed a new LED wall display to its Raptor series. So like by the picture, you can tell that they're really pushing for this to be like a conference room solution.
Yeah, it's all in one, right?
Yes.
It's like you've reached the maximum size of LCDs. The biggest LCD you can put in now is Sony's 100-inch LCD, which is something like $15,000. If you want to go bigger than that, you're going to have to spend $25,000 or more, right. And then you're going to have to go LED. And there's a few options. You have Absen, you have LG, you have Samsung, you have Sony now with the B and C series, and then you also now have Max Hub, and of course Planar. Planar has also always been in that space for all-in-ones. So that's your choices, right? If you want to go bigger than 100 inches, alternatively, you can spend a heck of a lot less money and go to a projector. And I think a lot of applications will stay projector because LEDs are too expensive right now. But this is the beginning of the future of the market being almost all LED. I think
this is a 150-inch diagonal, right?
Yeah, I mean and they're going to make other sizes. Like that's 1080, right? If they physically go larger, the resolution has to get larger because you're physically counting up LEDs, which means you're physically adding resolution by physically adding more panels. It's not like LCD where we can take the same form factor size wise and make the resolution change. That doesn't happen in LED. LED, to make the resolution change, you have to physically get larger, or the LED pixel pitch has to get smaller, which then you'd be getting into micro LED, which is super expensive. In fact, speaking of micro LED, I don't know if we probably don't have the ability to pull this up because I forgot to tell Madeline about this, but last week I was in New York City and went to the Micropalooza event that Planar had.
Cool.
And man, that demo of their micro LED absolutely made me want one of those for my house. I mean, they put it in a theater application, and boy, that thing looks really good. That one they had there was 0.6, so 0.6, which is higher resolution than direct view LCD is. So if you were to convert direct view LCD into a pixel pitch resolution, it would be 0.67 approximately. So this is 0.6. It's much higher density of pixels, but it comes in various sizes, and man, that thing, I wanted one of those. 4K resolution just looked amazing.
Yeah, no, I believe you. Well, real quick, we are going to show a quick commercial from our partner Shure on their partnership with Logitech, and then Gary and I will be right back.
Do you notice the excitement in my voice? Can you see the subtle smile on my face? As humans, the words we say and how we say them are at the heart of how we communicate. And for effortless communication, distance shouldn't be an obstacle. Shure and Logitech have teamed to pair top-of-the-line audio with premium video and make sure everything you communicate is being communicated. Discover the harmony of Shure and Logitech. Effortless meetings at any distance.
Well,
Well,
obviously, we're both using Shure microphones. I've got my handy Shure microphone here. You got your
Yep.
nice little purple one.
Yes.
We got to get some more of those purple ones.
Yeah. And if anyone out there is interested in getting a microphone that is colored from Shure, you can visit colorware.com. They do Pantone matching. They can pretty much give you virtually any color you want. And this one we customized. We picked the color of the yoke, the color of the arm. But yeah, they were really helpful. So a few of us have asked like how. A few people have reached out to Gary and I and asked how we did that. So that's how you do that. But Gary, I meant to ask you, so you did an interview with the new president of Crestron, and he's worked there since he was a child.
Sort of. I mean, Dan Goldstein is obviously the founder. George's Feldstein. Sorry, Dan Feldstein is the founder's son. It's interesting because he has kind of been there since he was 5 years old because his dad started the company in his garage and he was working there. And then when he come home from school, he would go to Crestron and just kind of hang out. So he's kind of been immersed in Crestron for many, many years. And it was interesting talking to him because honestly, I'd never met the guy before. I knew nothing about him. And I think a lot of people in the industry just assume he's in the position just because of his dad. It's not the case. This guy knows the company inside and out. He's worked in every department. Like he literally has worked in every department.
Right.
And when you have that kind of exposure to a company, then you're obviously in a position to lead a company. And I wanted to get to know the guy because I don't know anything about him. And Randy, the previous person in his position, had a very strong personality and very strong opinionated personality. Dan is not at all like Randy. Dan is more laid back, more focused, I guess you'd say, and more strategic, I think, in the way that he talks and the way he thinks. But one thing that, obviously everyone can go watch the interview. It's 20 minutes long, but I want to show you a clip because he gave us some insight as to the future of Crestron. Because a lot of people, this person, I think this clip it basically tells you a lot about where Crestron's going to head in the future. Even though you might think they're going one way, this is key. So watch this clip and tell me what you think.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I'm so bullish for 22 is what we've gone through has fundamentally changed the way that the workplace needs to exist and to be. Remote and hybrid work is and education. It's here to stay. Some of it is COVID related because we can't get together, but some of it is this is a much more efficient way to work and collaborate, and it's a better work-life balance for a lot of people. So I think we're going to have these types of workplace challenges for a very long time. And we're right at the precipice where companies are really starting to figure out, well, what does that mean? What is that going to look like for the long term? And they're starting to build, what does the long-term solution look like? And to some extent, we're a little bit figuring it out together because we don't have 100 years of work history to say this works, this doesn't work.
Let's bring Michael on. We asked Michael Katz, who writes for us, and he's been in the digital signage market for a long time. And why don't we just bring him on and we'll come back to that interview and show you that clip in just a second. Michael, how you doing?
Okay, my cell signal's fluctuating. I apologize.
Yeah, no, well, all of us are fluctuating in one way or another nowadays, but we're all online, and I'm in my house, and Steph's with killer bandwidth at the studio.
Yeah, I'll try to have enough bandwidth for all of us. So
Michael and I actually saw each other, Steph, last week at the Planar event. And,
really?
And talk about what you were showing there, Michael.
Say again?
What were you showing at the Planar event? Explain to Steph what you were there for.
Oh yeah, sure. So we had two different players attached to two different screens, a curved ribbon, and then the main 4K video wall. So we had a financial ticker on the curved video wall, and then in the main screen we had a layout and then some 4K videos that we showed.
Yeah, and we should mention that you're with Zingen, which is a company that makes media players.
Signage.
Signage. God, I said Zingen. Signage,
right.
Which a company makes media players, among other things, in the digital signage market. Tell me what you think about where the market is heading, because without people being in stores and without people being in companies, digital signage hasn't been relevant. But where has it been relevant, and where do we see the future of this market going, Michael?
Sure. Right, sure. So actually, we're a digital signage software company, and we'll use different types of players. Some are OEMs from different manufacturers, and sometimes we'll use existing players that clients may have, or integrators may spec, or consultants may spec. But I think a lot of the digital signage opportunities that I've seen are for much larger open areas. It could be for lobbies. And my pitch has always been, if you're using a display in a conference room for wireless collaboration and video conferencing for 2 hours a day, then the other 22 hours or so use it for information, wayfinding, whatever, as opposed to having black screens of death because you're not using it for wireless collaboration or video conferencing anymore. So I think companies are starting to say, right, how do we be more efficient in the canvassing and the landscapes, or what we call the far endpoints or the endpoints, and show different types of digital signage. And in fact, a lot of companies are now marrying the visual with the oral and having audio now with digital signage as well, not just videos. It's a little more impactful and interesting.
So how does that handled with an ambient environment like that? Is it a very custom application, or do you see audio being added to even wayfinding and people counting and other things? Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Yeah,
and people want to get, when we have conversations now, I would say as of really like maybe last year, we talk about the return on investment. So you want to say, okay, so if you're showing, you're in a park and you want to have a space that's, a very hot space, then you figure out, well, how many people are actually dwelling there? How many people are looking at this ride or going on the ride or looking at this digital signage application? And then why are they not going to the other side of the park? Like, what is it that they need to do? And maybe put in other types of digital signage applications like wayfinding, and get people to move around a park evenly rather than just one space, stay for an hour and leave, as opposed to being there for the entire day. So it's a lot of things that people.
That's an interesting concept. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is you've been doing a series. I mean, I don't know if it's just going to be 3 parts, but you put out 3 parts of a blog series. You're part of our blog squad on how to get the job you want. Selling your value was part 3, and you have other 2 other parts as well. Talk about well, first off, we're going to see part 4, and give us a synopsis. How do you get the job you want? I mean, there's a lot of, it's interesting. Everyone is hiring right now. Everyone's having a hard time hiring people. We've had this great, this great resignation, as it's being called by mainstream press. How do you find the job you want? I mean, it can't just be that, hey, you can work in Mexico and you can work from wherever you want. There's got to be a little bit more to it than that.
Right. I tell my kids, whatever job, and this was years ago, and now one's graduating from Cornell, the other one's working. But I say, you spend more time working for someone or working with someone, make sure you want to do that all the time, because that's what you're going to do more than anything else. So that's one. So figure out what you want to do, and then figure out, and it's not a company. People say, I want to work for this company. You're not working for a company. You're working with other people. You have to find people that you want to work with that support you. I'm in sales. I need to work with people that support me. I support them. I bring in opportunities and make sure that everyone's kind of flowing together and there's no obstacles. When you work for a company and the obstacle is not getting an opportunity and closing it, the obstacle is the people that support you or work with you are the obstacle. Find a new job. Then you're working at the wrong place. And I've been there many times, and I've left companies, and for various reasons, many times not getting paid appropriately, and not getting paid the right commission, or not working with the right people. So I thought, the 3 series would help other people. I actually have a couple of friends that have been out of work for a long time, because a lot of the interviews are done over video, and you cannot be as impactful as you are in person, obviously. Like when I met Gary, you and Steph at Infocom, I had met you guys over video, and then I met you in person, which is the opposite of my world. It was very strange at first. It's like, oh, wait, I know them. I can go up there and talk to them because I met them. Well, I met them over video. So it's interesting, and I allude to the fact that a lot of times you have to do interviews over video. If that's the case, try and meet with as many people as you can within that company before you join, and make the right, make the right decision. And sometimes you make a decision, you find out 3 months later it's not the right decision. So, I know some people that have been working at the same company, 10, 15, 20 years, and they're very happy. They're making money, more money each year. It's always been my goal, and they're lucky. I know a lot of people, if you look at LinkedIn, you look at their resume, people skip or go to different places after a year, after 2 years. It just, I hope there's no stigmatism of changing jobs, because you don't want to stay in a job where you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not making more money, not making enough money. It's very stressful. It's not worth it. You got to find something that you want to do. And usually when you do something, you do something very well. That's the thing I talked to Steph about in the article about talking about being indispensable. So there's an example I talk about where a company didn't realize that their outside salespeople were indispensable, changed the comp plan, all the outside people left, and the company went out of business in a very short period of time. You have to, I always think that the salespeople, I'm a little prejudiced, the salespeople that bring the revenue in are very important to a company.
Yeah.
Some people that are not salespeople don't understand that.
No.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, it's about like making yourself indispensable, but it's also about having the company recognize that you're indispensable. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, and I think that I think that comes down to knowing your people and actually talking to your people. But it's interesting because when I, as Steph knows, I talk to students about getting jobs and using LinkedIn, because you talked about understanding you don't want to work for a company, you want to work for people. One of the best ways to understand what a company's like is to talk to the people that are already working there. LinkedIn gives you that ability to do that, because with LinkedIn, you can pull up the company page and it'll tell you who all the employees are. You can see if any of your connections inside of LinkedIn are connected to those people. So if you don't know somebody, you have the ability to use one of your loose connections on LinkedIn, or even tight connections, to connect with somebody who is working there. And in that case, that would give you the ability to kind of ask those questions. What's it like culturally? Do you like working there? Do you not like working there?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I would say that the companies I've worked for over the years, I've tried to meet with actually either the manager, or the division head, or the CEO of the company, because that will determine if you are on the same page as that person. It's at least an indication you're going in the right direction working with a company. If you meet with someone who runs a company and you don't see eye to eye, don't join the company, because that's the direction the company's going to go in, unless you become the CEO or the division head or the manager.
Right.
Change that direction.
Exactly. Well, as I said, Michael writes blog for us. I don't know how often you're writing for us, but you've written at least 4 or 5 blogs for us.
More than that. He's written like 50,
oh, no,
almost 15.
We're up to actually, Steph's looking at number 14. It's
about twice a month. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm only looking at one page of your stuff on their website, I guess. I didn't realize you had been writing that much for us. That's awesome. So congratulations on your success. And I appreciate you imparting it to our viewers as well, and readers. Sure. And hopefully you'll continue doing it. Like you said, it was the first time we actually met each other in person was at InfoComm. It's kind of a weird, like you said, reversed world, but that's going to become norm. I mean, with the new virus, with whatever you call it, the new variant of the virus, we could be in this a little bit longer. There was a article out today that says that the current vaccines only cover about 40 to 45% of the new variant. So they're going to probably pose another version of the shot, which means that, we're going to be in this world for a little bit longer. But Michael, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate this. Sure. And appreciate you coming on today. Steph, we're going to jump to the next story. I wanted to talk about this story about Intupix. And the fact that Intupix added is inside the new Nikon Z9 series cameras. That's a significant thing. So let me back up and tell you Intupix. Intupix makes the AV over IP 1 gig JPEG 2000 compression system and chip that's used by a lot of the companies that have 1 gig AV over IP products, including Crestron's NVX system. So now what they're doing is integrating that technology into consumer devices. And so what you're going to see is a lot of these devices being able to natively connect to the network and then send their video across the network through using NDI and other transport mechanisms. So we're going to see more compatibility. Now, the reason why this is critical is that this is a play for them, because what they're trying to do is get more brands to jump on their ecosystem, because if everyone was using Intupix as an ecosystem, they would become the default standard, sort of like Dante is in audio, Steph, if you understand how that works, obviously.
Yes.
So ultimately that's what's going to happen there. And I think this is kind of an interesting play. I think we'll have to watch for more of that integration coming up. But speaking of integration, one of the companies that has pretty much anything to integrate from a glue perspective is one of our sponsors and partners for rAVe TV, Legrand, and we have a message from Legrand, and because they have a new video series.
They got a new video series from Chief. So yeah, we're going to show you a special clip of it real quick.
Those are always good.
Hello and welcome to Talkin' Tech with Tad and Tam.
That's Tad.
And that's Tammy, and we love Talkin' Tech.
Now, as you know, we were once just a simple little show being run out of our attic.
Or at Tech. Hello!
Anyway, but now, as of today, we have officially hit 2 million subscribers!
If you haven't already, smash that like button and subscribe.
Now, we have hit the big time. And with the big time comes big time tech teams like the one we have with us today.
That's right. They handle your every need. Let's meet the Tiled Solution Services team from Chief.
They're so funny.
That's cute. You got to go over to the Legrand/Chief website to watch that whole series. They got a whole new video series. We're going to play those over the course of the next the coming weeks. They've done a really good job with that. They're very entertaining, and 2 million subscribers. They're making their way up there, aren't they?
Yep, they are. So
right.
We don't have a ton of time left, Gary, but I wanted to end with this really great story on how LG finally entered the UCC market, right?
Yeah, I mean, LG has been making displays for many, many years, but they've never really had a UCC system. And now they have not only a wireless sharing system, but they also have collaboration displays. They have full integrated collaboration. I think if you scroll down, you should be able to see those. I think we have the picture of those on there. They have full collaboration displays, which have Android and Windows-based collaboration displays. And you're going to see them, compete in the collab. There you go. Pop it back up there, Madeline. You're going to see them compete, and they have a really nice design. I had a chance to see them last week at the Almo E4 event in Dallas, and I was really impressed. So they're finally full on in the UCC market, not just making displays, but they make touch displays with integrated cameras and speakers and wireless sharing built into them. And our next story is talking about the home office and sort of the impact of the home office in. I don't know if I want to put that up, Steph, or not.
I can do that.
And actually, in this case, Scott Tyner referenced that interview I did with Dan, because Dan specifically says that that's a focus of Crestron, that they're going to focus on home office solutions because they believe this trend is going to last a lot longer than we thought, which means that you're going to probably see products coming from them that are not large system based, but very small and home based. I think you could even see a personal collaboration display come from them, and also different ways to connect into the corporate network via the Crestron Cloud, XIO Cloud system that they have. So I think that's sort of giving you a glimpse as the direction that they are probably heading.
Yeah.
So
Very
that
good.
was what I was going to try to get across in that interview. I hope actually people will go on their own and watch that interview.
And watch the whole thing. Yeah. Well, we posted the link on everywhere that we're live. So the link is definitely live on ravepubs.com. So you can go check out that interview. But yes, I agree with Gary. It's very good and a fun watch.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that is our show for this week, Gary. This has been rAVe TV, where Gary and I hop on here live at noon Eastern every Wednesday, just to give you the run of the news, bring on a few of our friends to also give you the lay of the land in the AV industry. Gary, I have a good time every week doing this with you, and I will see you next Wednesday.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.